Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa Grimshaw. I'm one of the clinical research and education librarians at the Cushing Whitney Medical Library. I'm presenting today on managing citations and bibliographies using EndNote 21. This presentation is being run from a Windows computer, although I will say I'm going to do my best to remember to give the Mac commands along with the Windows one. So it potentially can be just as useful for you, but you may need to look around and find things in a slightly different area. In this session, we're going to talk about how to create a EndNote library, how to import references into EndNote using groups and group sets, how to get full text to automatically download into your EndNote, insert a reference into Word, create a bibliography, along with some other things that we'll cover quickly or randomly. So first things first is you'll want to think about where you're going to download EndNote 21 from. I recommend that you download it from the Yale software library if you're a Yale affiliate. And the reason why you'll want to do this is because first, you can purchase it for free, which is really nice, so there's no additional cost. It does, in this software library, make you go in and add it to your cart and purchase it, but there's no cost involved and it doesn't charge your department anything. It's totally free for Yale affiliates, but I know that can sometimes be a little confusing. Um, and second of all, it does come with the download URL pathway for our find full text, which I'll show off that functionality a little later in the presentation. But this does allow you, if you are on the Yale VPN or on the secure network, like the hospital network or the Yale secure network on campus, it will allow you to download those automatically without having to have any additional information. So yes, I do recommend that you download the information from the Yale software library. And you can stop this at any point if you want to download the software on your computer so that way you can do the steps along with me as I'm demoing this software if that's something that you would like to do. So feel free to pause and restart this video once you've downloaded the software. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is either to open an existing library or create a new library. When you open EndNote 21, you'll get this prompt where it asks you if you would like to open an existing library or create a new library. If you have an existing library on your computer, I just always like to mention that if it is EndNote X9 or earlier, it's actually going to tell you that you need to convert to the newest EndNote file type. This is not a problem. I have thousands of EndNote files that I probably have updated in the last few years. I've never had a problem with losing any data or having any data corrupted. It does give you this like kind of scary looking warning note about how it would need to update the file. I just want to reiterate that it's not going to make any real adjustments. It actually preserves the old files if you need to go back and open those too, if you still have the software to do that. But in general, this is not problematic. It does look scary, but it's not an issue. Like I said, I've opened hundreds or thousands of these libraries that were previously being used and needed to be converted. On all of them, my PDFs were there, my groups were there, any other functionality within EndNote made its way to the new version. It just essentially needs to convert so that way it opens with the new functionality that they added after EndNote 20. Okay, so when you're saving a new library, if that's what you're going to decide to do, you want to think about where you would like to save this file. EndNote Desktop does not recommend that you save on a cloud or a network drive. So essentially what happens is that the EndNote file is two separate files. It's a .enl file. And I think of this as like the run file. You click it and it opens the program. But in addition to that run file, the .enl file, there's actually a data file that is associated with your EndNote. And so anywhere you save your EndNote files, you'll actually have two separate files listed, the .enl and the .data file. If those get separated in any way, they can't find each other, then they won't be able to open. And so this works kind of twofold, right? So if you're uploading it somewhere and the upload speed doesn't upload them at the same exact time, doesn't work and they won't be able to find each other. And also if you're downloading them from the cloud or the network drive, that also can be problematic, and it can be challenging for the files to find each other. So we recommend that you put them somewhere and then never touch them again. So don't move them around or anything like that. If you are planning on moving files around, we recommend that you compress the file and then upload it there. Now, I say this, and I know that this may not be realistic, right? Everyone is using cloud-based solutions for data storage. You may need to upload it into the cloud. You may also need to post it on the network drive. The best solution is to compress the library and store it. And if you need to email it, compressing it is also best practice. But if that's not realistic, I will say that the one workaround of this that I've seen, I haven't had a problem, but I will say that yet. The caveat of yet. But if you have Google or OneDrive on your computer where you are saving directly into those folders and it's not going up and going down, it's like a local OneDrive or Google Drive folder, or Box if you're still using Box. We may not have Box at the time that you're watching this video because it is being decommissioned by Yale ITS. But if you're doing any of those local drives, that is not as problematic, and I have been able to open my files when saved on a network drive that I'm directly saving locally to the computer on those network drives. So that could be an alternative for you if you need it. But like I said, the EndNote support does not recommend that you save an EndNote desktop file on the cloud or a network drive. So if you have an issue, they may not be able to help if you do save. So it is definitely at your own risk. When you're creating an EndNote library too, you may want to think about how you plan on using the EndNote file. There's pretty much two different ways to have EndNote files. You can have one EndNote project, and that is the only EndNote library that you need. And you put every single one of your projects in that EndNote library. Alternatively, if you're someone like me who collaborates with a lot of different people and you may not want to share references that you send to someone else to another person because they don't need it and it might be overwhelming or confusing to include those other person's references in their EndNote library that you forward. I have many small projects of EndNote, so I probably have hundreds or thousands of EndNote libraries on my computer just sitting in my hard drive. They don't take up that much space, so it's not that problematic. But if you're saving PDFs in there, it potentially could get more expansive. So there's no right or wrong way to organize your EndNote library. It's really whatever works for you. So like I said, I have a million different little libraries, but you can have just one where you put all your projects in. The really nice thing about having one EndNote project is that you can sync one project or library with EndNote Online. So if you are running just one library, then you can have access to it wherever you are using the online plus desktop feature. Okay, so that's everything about creating a library and organizing your EndNote library files. Let's get into getting reference into EndNote. So I'm going to cover 4 different methods of getting references into EndNote. First, we're going to talk about typing a reference. We generally don't recommend this just because there's a high chance of human error. You want to be very careful when you do type in a reference. And then you can do a direct export from a database or a website. Next, you could do an online search within EndNote, and then we will also import a PDF. It's important to note that you can also import a folder of PDFs, which can save a lot of time if you already have the records on your computer and you just need the citations to be entered into EndNote. Important to note that the PDF must be machine readable. If it's not machine readable, then EndNote won't be able to pull the data from the PDF. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to type a reference into EndNote. And so to do this, we're going to click References, New Reference, and then input all of the information. I just like to highlight two really important functionalities of this. First, you want to make sure that the author is on a separate line. This helps EndNote understand the data better and associate the correct names with the correct author. And then in that same vein, corporate authors, you need to add a comma at the end. So for instance, if we had American Heart Association, if we did not put a comma, like our example here, then EndNote would think association was the person's last name, American was their first name, and Heart was their middle name. And then when we go to insert a citation into Word, it would say association, comma, AH, which probably wouldn't work for us, right? We need it to say the American Heart Association when it's being cited. So this is really, really important to remember if you do type in a reference. Okay, so I'm gonna open up EndNote now in another screen, and we can kind of orientate ourselves a little bit to EndNote. So there's kind of like three different tabs here. We have this tab, which houses kind of our like sorting functionality. We can set up our groups, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. We can put in tags, we can find full text, we can do some online searching, and then we have the ability to look at our references here, our imported references, recently added, and then unfilled is everything that is not in a group. And then additionally, we have the trash here, which is anything that you do not want to be part of your EndNote library anymore. In this middle functionality, this is where your citations will be, and we'll add some citations really quickly or soon, so to give out a little more information here. We also have the search bar up here. So we have the ability to search all of these different fields that EndNote has. So you can actually set custom fields if you, needed to sort by certain things. You can sort by top title, author, keywords, journal, label, tags, all of those different things. And then you can also search any field and PDF with notes. And I'll highlight more of that functionality later. If we were to type in our reference as our first example, we would go into references, click new reference. I will also say that EndNote has hotkeys for just about everything that you can do in EndNote, which can be really, really nice. So for in this instance, if I were to click Control plus N on a PC computer or Command N on a Mac computer, it would bring up the new reference box. So we're going to just open up our new reference, and we can cite this in we can enter in our information. So first, because we're really thinking about our output style, being able to just designate the reference type is really important. So for instance, if I was typing in a journal article versus a web page, my citation style may greatly vary in the information required, the fields that should be input, and how those fields display. For instance, like a book chapter may look way different than a book. So you just want to keep in mind what you're citing and enter that information accordingly. Okay, so let's say that my author is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Let's say I also authored this one, and I'll show you kind of why I want to do this later to show you more information. And, let's have another author. This person is fine. Okay, so we're going to say that this is 2024. My title is COVID-19 and PCOS. Maybe I'm really interested in looking at the impact of COVID-19 on the PCOS population. Okay, so we're going to go access date because the American Medical Association citation style requires us to include an access date for websites. So I'm going to write today's date, which is August 24th, 2024. And then I would go through and add any additional information. So maybe I want to say that the publisher is the United States government through the Disease Control and Prevention Center. And then I want to scroll down and I definitely want to give this a URL, right? So COVID-19. So I can add in more information depending on if there is anything that is necessary in terms of what is available on the website, or if there is any additional information required by my citation staff. But I'm just gonna save this and we're gonna close. So you can see that my citation information is now listed here. We have the date that it was added to the library, the database date information if I had exported it and that information was included in the export. And I have my author information, my title information, and then I can also see more information here. So this is what my citation will look like if I input it into a into a document and cite it. If I say I needed to add something here, so let's say the place published was Maryland, USA, and I'm gonna save here. And so that information will now be added into my citation information. Not a requirement of American Medical Association 11th edition to include this information. So that information isn't located there. Now say the journal that I'm trying to put this in, let's say Journal of Women's Health, they may have additional requirements. So for instance, Maryland, USA 2024 is here, gives the URL and then the last access date. So this will adjust to the citation style that you're looking at. You can actually add additional styles here. So if mine are not ones that you frequently use, you can also change the style. And so if you click this button here, you have the ability to go and select additional styles. There are additional styles that you can download from the EndNote website if you're not finding yours, but they have so many. I would be very surprised if you can't find the one that you're looking for. And if you're not finding it, you may want to go onto the journal's website. A lot of times they'll be like, we use Vancouver or we use AMA or a different style guide, APA, etc. And so you would just use the appropriate style guide for that journal. Okay, so we have inserted a citation. Let's search EndNote. And so I actually have a few searches already done within EndNote. So this is searching Web of Science. And so I'm looking for my own citations here. So I put in my last name, my middle initial, my first name. There was a lot of Grimshaw A's. So most of my publications are reviews. So I added review to the title so that I could filter that information. Once you have the results, so we can read through this search right now. It should come up with the same amount, 87. You'll see that it automatically loads 25, but you can load as many as you want here, and it will keep adding to the number of citations that you have. You can go through and select using these boxes here to pick certain ones. I would just like to download all of them, so I'm gonna click that box to highlight all of them, and then I'm gonna drag and drop them into my references. So you can see we have 88 citations in here now, and I'm gonna actually do the same thing in PubMed. So I did a very similar search, but I didn't limit to reviews. There's a lot less citations being retrieved in PubMed, and I'm fine if I have a few additional citations in here that aren't mine. I can find them later. So I'm gonna just highlight same thing. I could either select all the ones that I want, or I can click this box and highlight all of them and drag and drop. So you can see that now I've moved over both of these citations into EndNote. If you just do this search and don't click anything, you can see these citation information, but you actually have to drop them into your all references for them to be imported. So now that I have these citations in here, we can see that I actually have a lot of duplicates, right? Because I downloaded from 2 different databases and I didn't compare the data. And you can see that, for each Medline, I also have one from Web of Science. So I definitely want to get rid of that duplicate record. So if I'm on a PC and I hit Command A, if I'm on a Mac, I'm going to hit I'm sorry, if I'm on a PC, I'm going to hit Control A. If I'm on a Mac, I'm going to hit Command A. And I'm going to go into Library and tell EndNote to find the duplicates for me. So you can see that this pops up and I have the ability to go in and look at the records. You can see the databases have slightly different information. So the Web of Science information writes out the title in the entire journal title, and the PubMed information gives the abbreviated title of the journal. I don't get that specific about which record I would like, so I'm actually going to click this X here. But you can go through manually and keep one record or the other one if you wanted to. I just typically click the X. I can see, I'm going to skim and check to make sure that these look like they're all matches. They do. So I'm going to drag and drop all of the extras into my trash. And so I eliminated 45 papers that were, duplicate records. It didn't match all of them. Sometimes the algorithm just doesn't get them all. So like that one is definitely a duplicate. I can see with this one, these are not going to be identified as duplicates because they have different page numbers. They also potentially have different journal numbers. This is a conference abstract. This is a full manuscript. So maybe I want to organize my groups, my publications. So in my groups, I'm going to write, the departments that I work with. So I have internal medicine, OBGYN, and urology. So I could decide that I want my groups to help me organize these. So these are all internal medicine. This is OBGYN. This is internal medicine. This is internal medicine. And so I could go through all of these papers and determine which group I was working with and move them all over. I could also create a smart group and assign keywords. You'd have to build out those searches pretty significantly though to be able to limit those. So the drag and drop may be just a little faster. Say I wanted just one group with all of my publications in it, I could create a smart group and tell it anytime that the author has Grimshaw in the author field to pull that information. So say I'm working on my CV, I may want to do that. And so it created this smart group and it has, 133 papers that are potentially mine. I may want to go through these and check for duplicates more thoroughly. There is a lot of conference abstracts though, so potentially that's fairly, an accurate number. So I won't do that now. You could also decide that you want to use the tagging system. The tagging system is really nice because you can actually see them as you scroll. So if we do something that is meta research, or PCOS, or COVID-19. Let's do a search. So let's look at my publications associated with COVID-19. This is a duplicate. And I'm going to pull all of those, and then I can just drag them and drop them into the tags. You can see that now I have this red tag here in the title that I can see. So I can quickly sort. I can also search by the tags, and they'll come up whenever I'm searching by them. And so there's some really cool features that you can use through the tagging system for organization, which can be very nice. You can also put papers in multiple tags if you can quickly. So Potentially that is an organizational functionality you may decide you want to use. Another way that you can download references into EndNote is to download them directly from a website or a database. I'm going to show up a few of the databases right now. I always recommend that you start at the Yale Cushing Whitney Medical Library. We have our popular resources here. And then if you need more database options, you can click into view more references. We have this great search functionality. So say you are interested in drug information, we can search by title and it will limit all of the databases that include drug information. We go back to our homepage though. We can start with PubMed. That's one that frequently people use. We can do Scopus, Web of Science, and then I also always like to do Google Scholar. Okay, so say I'm done with my CV work. I want to do a search on shark bites. Maybe I'm publishing a literature review on shark bites. So I'm going to go into PubMed. I'm going to search shark bites. And I can see that I have a lot of different options here. So I could download all of these citations. I could select certain ones. So say I was interested in these three. And I can click this send to, so straight from this web page, I can send it to my EndNote library by clicking send to citation manager. And then I can decide whether I want all the results on this page, which we can see I have 125 results. It's on 25 different pages. So I currently have it set for 10 results per page. I could set it to send all of the 249 publications to my EndNote library, or I could pick the three that I selected. So I'm going to just send those three over. And I want to create a new group set, right? So we'll call this Research Project 1, and our topic is shark bites. So we're going to just drag and drop those right into this, this folder. Now say I am interested in a few other papers in here, but I need to look further to see if, you know, the title and abstract matches the information that I'm looking for. So I'm on this one. I have a few additional options to send it directly from PubMed into EndNote using this web page on the individual record. I can do the same thing I did in the last page, send to citation manager. I don't have the same options for creating the file here because I only have one record, so I don't have the options to select. So I would just click create a file and it will send to EndNote, or I can click citation and then click this download.endbib file. And so the .endbib file is the EndNote RIS file. So that's the format that you would download it in. So I could click that and you can see it sends here. You can also tell EndNote to automatically open these files for you. So if I right click, I can click always open files of this type. Because I do a lot of systematic reviews, I want to control the way that the files are going into my EndNote. So that doesn't work for me, but it may work for you. All right, so we're going to download that into our shark bites folder. And let's switch to a different database. So we're going to do the same search, but in Scopus. So shark bites. And I'm going to search title, abstract, and keywords. And so you can see that Scopus is a much larger database than EndNote. Than PubMed. So you have quite a few different papers in here that we didn't have in the PubMed citation. So I'm going to click this all, or I could select the varying papers that I want to look at. If I wanted to sort this within Scopus, I could show abstract, look at the title and abstract, click which ones I'm interested in, and send them over. I have a bit more information here, so I can click this EndNote RIS file here. And then when I get this pop-up screen, I have the ability to add more information. So I generally add these three columns when I'm downloading, but funding details might be really important to you, and other information also could be helpful. any information that you do get sent to EndNote, as long as it matches into a field, it is searchable. So having more information is generally better than having less information. And then I'm going to export this entire group into EndNote. You can see it also takes a little bit longer the more citations you have, and then I'm going to click this RAS file, and it will automatically download into EndNote. So say I wanted to keep all of my Scopus records separate, I could do shark bite Scopus, and then I'm going to click Control A to highlight everything within this group, and then drag them, drop them over into Scopus. I can also go into the individual records very similarly and click this export option and download the individual file. This way, click it, it will go into my thing. So we can also do the same search over in Web of Science. So if I search all fields shark bites, I can go in and you can see that Web of Science has significantly more publications than PubMed, but for this search, it has a little bit less than Scopus. So it just depends on what journals are included in the database. So I can select 50 at a time. I can select 50 that I'm interested in, or I can go into the export, click export EndNote desktop, and I can select all of these records. You can only do 1,000 records at a time within Web of Science. So if I were to do something over 1,000, I would do 1,001 to 2,000 and so on until I've gotten all the records that I want. For this instance, let's just do 1 through 150. I would also change this information. I generally just do the full record. If you also want all of their cited references, you can do that too. And it opens up into EndNote. And let's create a new folder here. Science. And then I'm going to click my Control or Command A again and drag and drop these citations into this folder. So you can see how you can organize multiple projects within one EndNote folder. It's really what works best for you. Okay, so Google Scholar looks a little different. If we do our shark bite search again, you'll see that we have a significantly more larger grouping of results. So these may or may not be of interest to you. And the reason why we're seeing a lot more results is because Google Scholar actually searches within the full text of the paper, whereas the other databases are looking at the indexing, so title, abstract, keywords, any controlled vocabulary associated with those records. So if you're searching, potentially you may find additional information in Google Scholar, but it may be buried within the database, and the algorithm is a trademark protected thing, so we're not exactly 100% sure how it works and how your previous searches impact the result set that you get. But you can save things and download them into from Google Scholar into EndNote. So you can do the same thing here. I can save this into a reading list that I can download later if I want to download multiple things at a time. Or I can click this Cite button, click EndNote. It will send an EndNote file here, and then I can double click it and open it in PubMed. If I go into my library, I can go into this reading list. I can export all to EndNote, and it will do everything that is included in this search. So that is one way for you to download more than just one file at a time in Google Scholar. Okay. Next, we're gonna upload a PDF document. So I'm gonna just go into my import file. I need to change this. I need to make sure that it's in the right option. So a lot of these will default to RAS files. So you may need to change that to PDF. I'm on PDF here. I could tell it that I would like it to discard any duplicates. Um, and I would have never done this text translation, so I probably wouldn't recommend that. But if you're dealing with something with a lot of foreign language, perhaps that might be something useful for you. Okay, so I'm gonna just go in my downloads folder, scroll down, and I'm gonna pick one random PDF that I just have sitting in my folder. As long as it's machine readable, this will go in. Oh, this is not machine readable, so not a good example. Let's go back and pick a different folder. This JAMA article. Okay, so you can see the difference in what it looks like if it's machine readable and not machine readable, right? So the other one, it uploaded just the PDF and then took the information from the PDF name. This one, because the file was machine readable, it actually pulled all of the information. So we can see the author information, the title, the journal information, the page numbers, the DOI. If you needed to adjust anything from downloading automatically, you could go in here and adjust. It has very robust data. And you can see it also uploaded the PDF, which can be super helpful. So if I were to open this up, I have a lot of functionality within EndNote when I'm viewing PDFs, so I can mark it up and add notes. So for instance, if I added this note here and I wrote cite for introduction as my note to myself, I can also go in and highlight it. So maybe I'm interested in top-down policy prescriptions, but I'm not interested in bottom-up approach. I can go and highlight or cross things out. You know, I'm not interested in Canada. And do anything in here. I can underline. So anything that you would need to create notes or annotate this PDF, you can do right within EndNote. The nice thing about this is when I close this PDF, it's going to save, and I can actually see this in the display. So I don't know if you're anything like me, but I often start projects and then I get busy with something else and I come back to the project and I have to remember where I last was. So I have found that EndNote can help me determine kind of like where I was, because I can go through and see what's annotated and what's not annotated and work off of that. Okay. So now that you've seen how great the functionality EndNote it is in EndNote to be able to pull in this information or include information from the PDFs, you may be thinking, wow, we've got 814 articles in here, super helpful, but I don't want to spend all the time downloading those files and uploading them into EndNote. Well, the good thing is you don't have to, right? So if I go in here, I'm going to just search for one. Let's do this one. I'm pretty sure this one is open access. I can search for 250 of these at a time. I'm going to do one because it does kind of take a little bit of time. I often recommend if you're doing like bulk EndNote PDF uploads is that you send the bot out to find them and then like on your lunch break. So that way it's not impacting your ability to use software on your computer. But we'll just send one out for an example, and I can tell this one to find full text. So you can see that this tab here just uploaded, it sent it out, it uploaded the PDF, and it was that fast. So if I click on this, I'm able to see the PDF that I have, and I could go through and read, annotate, or do whatever I want. The really great thing about this is once they're stored on your computer, we can't take them away. So this is a great way to archive PDFs that you're looking for, or that you may need in the future. Whereas if you are just downloading them, not saving them or organizing them in any way, our information may change. We may no longer subscribe to a journal and you no longer have access. Or if it's something that you ordered through interlibrary loan, after 30 days, that interlibrary loan link doesn't work any longer. So you want to save it somewhere. And this is one really great way to keep organized. In addition to the find the PDF, it also could be helpful sometimes. Let's go back into this. So this potentially could be the same article. Oh no, it is a conference abstract. But there's no page numbers or anything. So say we wanted to update it and see if we could get any additional information. I'm like 90% sure though, this is probably a conference abstract. If we find full reference update here, by right-clicking find reference updates, this is going to send it out to Web of Science and it's going to see if there's any additional information it could. So you can see that it did, right? It was able to find the full information for the author list. It added abstracts to the record. It added, the page numbers. So we could update all of these fields, and now that all of that information is included. So if I were to cite it, we'd have proper information. This is also really great if you start a review and you download all of your papers and you go to cite things and you realize they were in press when you downloaded them and now they're actually published and have page numbers. You don't have to manually go in and re-enter those. We can just do the reference update. It will find them, update all of them, and that will reduce the amount of manual work that you're doing. Okay, so let's go back into our PowerPoint slide and see what other cool features we should show off. We talked about typing in a reference, direct export from a database or website. We did the online search within EndNote. I will note that this is best for known articles. If you're doing like exhaustive searching within EndNote, I would argue you're probably not doing exhaustive searching within EndNote. It'll pull in too much stuff. You won't be able to see it great. It also doesn't have some of the search functionalities that the databases have, like proximity searching. So in general, we recommend that you actually search the databases themselves. But if you know an article and you just want to pull the citation information, that's really great. It's also really good if you're, like I showed for my example, searching my own publications because I'm really familiar with those and I know a little bit about them. So I can quickly differentiate whether or not I'm interested or not interested. We also did the import a PDF, and we did that. Like I said, for that, has to be machine readable. We organized, we removed duplicates, we found full text.